Hey guys, thanks for allowing me to come to your meeting today and talk to you about a new tool that we'll be using here at Believe Elementary. This year, instead of the basic old way of lesson plans, we'll be using the backwards design lesson plans. So at the end of this meeting, you'll be able to identify what a backwards design plan is. You'll understand why the backwards design lesson is so important, and you know how to plan a backwards design lesson because we're going to practice doing one together first, and then you're going to move to doing one on your own with your team members. So let's dive right in. What is the backwards design? With a backwards design lesson plan, you're going to begin with the end in mind. So you're working backwards just like the title says. You're going to set goals before choosing instructional methods and forms of assessment. So why should you use the backwards design? It's simple. Mastery. How many of you would like to teach a lesson and then assign homework and everyone gets home and the teacher gets a million phone calls because no one understood what to do? Or when you give a quiz and the whole class fails. So you feel like what you've been teaching the whole 60-minute block is pointless because no one understood. And because maybe your lesson didn't match your assessment. So what the backwards design is designed that each student will be able to master what you taught. So there are 3 steps in planning the backwards design. The first step is identify the desired results. And if you look at the picture under step 1, they have a nice, pretty, yummy cupcake. That's what I want after everything is taught. This is what I want to happen. This is what I want. So I want the nice, pretty cupcake. And then for number 2, you're going to determine acceptable evidence. How am I going to know that? What am I going to accept to show me that the children mastered the standard? And number 3, then I'm going to plan my learning experiences and instruction. So I learned how to make the nice, beautiful cupcake through recipes and through instruction from the teacher. So, with identifying the desired results, you're going to ask yourself, where do you want your students to be? What is the purpose of this lesson? And what are the goals that you want your students to achieve? Then in step 2, you're going to determine acceptable evidence. How will you know if the students master what you want them to learn? And remember, you should use a variety of assessments. A few assessments are weekly tests, quizzes, exit tickets, the STAR exam. You can do informal assessments or formal assessments, but you don't want to base your focus on one assessment, say for instance STAR, because that is the big test that we take here in Texas. Because if you're not going to measure that they've met their goal until STAR, you've taught the whole year not knowing was your teaching acceptable, were they able to master it. So you need to give them small chances to achieve. And so then you can go back, look at your data, and reteach if you need to. But don't measure the test only by STAR Master because that comes at the end of the year. You need to know before the end of the year if the students have mastered what you taught. And do you need to go back and reteach? And then step 3, you're going to plan your learning. And here I believe we use the I do, we do, you do method, which is modeling guided practice. You need to plan out for your center and group activities, independent practice, and your exit tickets. Making sure that all of your activities, your lesson plan, bring the students back to that goal, what you want them to learn from teaching this lesson. Alright, so now let's dive right in. I have chosen a 6th grade math sheet, and I'm sure you all know why, because I'm in a 6th grade math planning meeting. So we're going to work together and identify the goal. We're going to first identify the TEAC that we're going to teach. So we're teaching number and operations, TEAC 6.2. The student applies mathematical process standards to represent and compare whole numbers and understand relationships related to place value. Also order a set of rational numbers arising from mathematical and real world context. So then, in order to set the goal, we need to just unpack the TEAC. What is the TEAC saying the student should be able to do? And that's how I'm going to set my goal. So my goal for the lesson is at the end of the lesson, the students will be able to write statements using greater than or less than to compare rational numbers and referencing the context. So then I have unpacked the TEAC and set the goal. So now I know when I'm teaching, this is what I want the kids to be able to do at the end of the lesson. So I have my weekly assessment right next to me before I even begin to plan on my activities. My weekly assessment is first because I want to make sure that I'm teaching what's on my weekly assessment, not teaching exactly what's on it, but teaching to it, making sure they understand the concept. So I'm looking at my weekly assessment as I plan the activities. Then step 2, I need to identify acceptable evidence. So I'm saying weekly quizzes and STAR. So I have a checkpoint before the STAR test, so I can know if the kids didn't master on that checkpoint, I need to go back and reteach it before the STAR. And I need to also let the children know what is expected of them. They are to compare integers, whole numbers, fractions, and temperature. And I want 80% accuracy on the weekly quiz and mastery on the STAR exam. So now the students know what is expected of them, 80%. And then step 3 says, plan your lesson and activities and teaching to reach your lesson goal. So now I'm going to get into planning my I do, we do, you do. What are you going to teach and model? Your we do, how the students are going to practice with your help. And your you do, the students are going to practice what you taught by themselves. So this whole lesson should bring you back to reaching that goal. After students go through all steps of your lesson plan, then guess what? They should be able to master exactly what you said there, because I planned that first. I began with the end in mind. Now here is the backwards lesson plan template that you're going to use. So in your groups, I want you to use next week's TEAC to design a backwards lesson plan. Work together, and now it's time to plan. Thank you.